Faz Ullah, inspiring a new generation of property entrepreneurs across the UK. Learn how to leverage assets, automate your systems, and grow your brand fast. This is where your journey to a six-figure property business begins.
Hey, I'm Anthony Draper. I've just spent the last few years behind the scenes helping founders, coaches, and consultants turn their real-world results into scalable, high-impact businesses, and especially in the coaching space. And when I met Faz, I knew immediately that this wasn't just another rent-to-rent trainer. This was someone with real integrity, hard-won experience, and a guaranteed results mindset. Faz didn't just want to build another course. He wanted to build a results-driven coaching engine that transforms lives, one deal at a time. So we partnered up to bring this vision to life. What you're about to hear is an unfiltered conversation with Faz himself, how he went from being skeptical about rent to building a business that helped dozens of people quit their 9 to 5 and replace their income with cash flowing property. His story, his mindset shifts, his early mistakes, everything that now powers the curriculum we're building together has been experienced by Faz. My role, I've helped productize that expertise into a proven system, and it's what we call the first deal formula. A 30-day challenge to help new rent-to-rent operators land their first high-profit deal, or Faz keeps working with them for free until they do. This isn't just a coaching program, it's a movement to raise the standard in this industry, and I'm proud to be helping Faz lead it. Faz, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Faz Ullah. I started in property back in 2007 with HMO conversions. I was buying rundown properties which were poor condition, derelict, and I was converting them into HMOs. And I covered kind of South London, so I went from Croydon to Bromley to Wimbledon to sort of inner parts of London like Tooting and Brixton, etc. And I came across rent to rent a little bit later, around about 2013 and 14, where I started building a rent to rent portfolio simultaneously to my HMO property portfolio, of which are the properties I owned. So I started with that goal in mind to be able to build a scalable property business. And during my journey, I started to mentor a few people, and some of those have become very, very successful.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, people forget that the first deal is rarely perfect. It's usually messy, stressful, and full of self-doubt. I know many watching this are thinking, what if I screw up? So, Faz, walk us through your first deal and what that really looked like on the ground.
Well, my first deal was really, really messy, Anthony. It was stressful and it was full of lots of uncertainty. I didn't really have the clarity or the knowledge or the experience of what I was doing. But one thing was sure, I was hungry, I was keen, and I was determined. And through the mistakes I made, because I did make lots, I was terrified of making mistakes, but that's great because I was hungry and my vision and my why I was doing this, which was to create financial freedom. It kind of tipped me over the edge into getting deals that after I thought, well, how did that come about? But I didn't want to ruin my reputation. But I pushed through the fear. I learned quickly. I took the leap of faith, and that was my first deal. Even though it wasn't perfect, it was a catalyst that proved that I could do this and help others do the same.
And well done. Yes, I can imagine it was quite scary, especially if it was messy and there was that uncertainty. I mean, I always say confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from it. But I mean, that's hard to believe when you're kind of staring at your first viewing or your landlord pitch. So, what mindset shifts helped you go from overthinking to execution?
Well, first of all, I had to let go of perfection, because I used to overthink absolutely everything, every tiny like minute detail, you know. But rent to rent, it just taught me you just can't build confidence sitting on the sidelines. You just have to act, throw yourself out there, put yourself in the trenches, and go out and network, communicate, and talk to people and learn. You know, from going to networking events to going to visit landlords in their homes, speaking to them, understanding what their pain points look like, and because one of my strengths is rapport building and building relationships with people. So I felt that was I do it naturally anyway, you know. So to focus on that without having the experience or the knowledge was kind of played to my advantage because, you know, as we know, people only do business with people they like, know, and trust. And once I began to speak to landlords who began to like me, it became easier for them to then buy into what I was doing, what my vision was planning to achieve. And that gave me the belief that I can do this. And some landlords stuck by me, and you know, it's really been a blessing.
Wonderful. And yeah, and in the time I've met you, Faz, I mean, I've seen your network, the amount of people you've got on WhatsApp, emails, everything. And I know you go to a lot of networking events as well. And I know that building rapport is definitely one of your strengths. So yeah, I'm fully with you there. One of the biggest blockers that we hear though is that I don't have the money. But rent to rent isn't traditional property, it's creative. So let's break the myth. How much did you really need to get going, and how did you overcome those financial fears?
Yeah, great question. So, I realized that I needed a little bit of money, and which, you know, I started with around less than £5,000, to be honest with you. Um, I borrowed a little bit of money from other people as well. And I also learned about how to structure opportunities with landlords, i.e., deferring payments. And I became a master at getting 1 month rent free period from landlords on their opportunities, on their deals, on their properties, based on my belief and their trust in me and knowing what I was going to do to their property and the amount of time and money that I was going to spend on their property initially. Allowed me to get a month rent free and also not having to put a deposit down, also contributed a little bit of money to invest in their property so that I could use the income from the tenants to then grow my business. And that's basically how I got going, really.
Oh, wow. Okay, so well done. So what we're saying then is that actually, if we build the rapport and have the right conversations, we don't need a lot of money to actually get it up and running, which is brilliant.
No, that's right. And it all comes with your belief and your confidence and that, you know, but I learned how to turn that fear into motivation to prepare, you know, my plan and push forward.
Yeah. Oh, well done. So if I think about kind of YouTube and people, looking for education, there's a lot of kind of YouTube videos and webinars out there, but there's a big difference between watching free content and building a real business. What would you say are the most common kind of traps that new operators fall into?
Well, I think number one is that people try and do everything alone, you know, without a proven roadmap. They don't understand about leverage. Leverage is about using other people's time, money, and skills to achieve a common goal, you know. So where people go wrong, I think, is where they try to do it all themselves. They think that they'd rather do it themselves, even though they've got a 9 to 5 job, to try and get deals and speak to landlords, even though they're trying to do it all themselves. They're missing a trick. They're trying to save money, but what they're forgetting is, in order to scale, you need to invest a little bit of money to help you do more, because there's more than one person now that's involved in your business. And so you can get more done with less time. And if that person, if you leverage your time to, let's say, a virtual assistant, then you can get more hours in the day, you get more negotiations going on, more viewings going on, more leads being generated. So therefore, it gives you more opportunity for someone to say yes, and it will help you accelerate your progress. And that first deal would be enough to pay for your team member, maybe for the next 3 months. So I would always say is, look, once you get your first deal, use the money to take someone else on so you can get your deal number two. And then, use the money that you make from deal number two to train your new VA with everything you need them to do with what you've been doing to get your first deal, and then use that person to help you train your next person when you begin to get into the realms of getting 3, 4, 5, 6 deals where you've got now 30 plus tenants.
That makes sense as well. And let's not also forget that, rather than do it on their own, they're better off also coming to someone like yourself who's been there, done it, and actually can show them the shortcuts and get them there, so get their success as quickly as possible. Yeah, so I mean, in terms of negotiation, I know in terms of sales and having conversations with strangers, a lot of people freeze. They think that they need to sell themselves, and that feels uncomfortable for them. But rent to rent isn't about convincing, it's about clarity and value. I mean, what's your approach when you're face to face with a landlord?
Well, I've just closed a deal um, on Saturday. I met with the landlord actually, and he didn't know me at all, you know. And my son is learning rent to rent as well, and I invited him to come along with me so he can observe. And he came along, and I shook the landlord's hand when I arrived and looked him in the eye, and I said, "Yeah, my name is Faz. Really nice to meet you." And we just started talking about football. We started talking about other things, about what he's doing, about his family life, about his health, about my family, about my health. So we connected before we even talked about the property. Yeah. So it was like we were speaking maybe for about, I'd say, a good 20 minutes at least, 25 minutes possibly, just about other things outside of property. And because those conversations going really, really well, that it was like, wow, we don't even need to talk property here. I already built that rapport with him and planted the seeds of where I live, who my family are, how many kids I've got, and he told me a bit about his kids, and I went, touched on his pain points as well in terms of what he's looking to achieve, and I talked about his family, and he's told me about his ill health of his father, and that they're not around anymore. And I've told him, well, I'm quite fortunate that my father and mother are still around. In fact, I could relate to him what he was saying with the ill health because I went through the same with my mum and dad. So it became very kind of an emotional topic to talk about, when you're talking about your parents. And it kind of struck the right chord, but I didn't do it just because it was on my mind. It was more the conversation flowed in that direction naturally, you know. And so, I then went inside and I said, okay, let me have a look around and see what you've got here. I took my son in and we went in and we had a look around. I went upstairs and in fact, he stayed outside. He just left me to it. And he said, well, okay, let me know what your thoughts are. So I came back upstairs. I processed my thoughts. I told him, I thought to myself that I need to get at least 1 month rent-free period. I need to not even speak about the deposit, and I need to put in an offer now. Now, I already had some information previously that someone else had offered him 2,800. Then the same person offered him 3,000. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I've got to beat that, number one. And now, if I beat that, do the numbers still work? And I processed it in my mind. And I said, yes, it does. So I gave him £100 offer, more than what his other offers were. So that was the first thing. The second thing, I thought, okay, how can I incentivize him further to work with me long term? So I said, okay, well, I'll give him an increment of about £100 a year. I don't think anybody would do that, because that's more than the average, which is 3%. And they say 3% is, yeah, national standard increment that somebody should um, request or ask for. So I offered £100 an additional, and then I thought, okay, right, what else can I put in there? And then I thought to myself, okay, right, let me put in as much maintenance as I can, so it makes him as much hands off as possible. And he said, so you did ask me the question. You say you look after all the maintenance. I said, well, yes, we do. Any minor repairs we'll deal with. Anything to do with cleanliness, anything to do with faulty tap or anything like that, we'll deal with. And what else? So I said, yeah, okay. The only thing that we don't do is anything to do with roofing, guttering, boiler repairs, or anything to do with the boiler, hot water, cold, and heating, and that's the only thing that we don't do. But apart from that, we pretty much do everything. So we were not going to, you know, the whole idea of us coming on board is to give you peace of mind and to give you the confidence to know that we're not going to be ringing you up every 2 minutes. We're not an estate agent. We're professionals, and I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for so long. So if there anything that needs attending, then we will get our team, who will, of course, I'll have a team that will come in to do whatever we need to do, and we'll even pay for it. So you don't have to. So it's all looked after in-house. So I came across with confidence and clarity, and I was able to produce my offer so quickly, whereas most people need to go away and have a think about what they're going to say. And I think that's just for inexperienced or amateur uh, investors that would do that. But I knew what I wanted. I knew the numbers worked, and I, you know, there was a little bit of toing and froing over the last sort of few days with regards contracts and so forth, but that's expected. That there's no issues with that. Um, so I just was there to build a relationship. He liked me. He liked my offer. He wanted to talk to me more. I'm going to meet him again today because I've actually picked up the keys. They were posted to my house in an envelope yesterday. But I was out networking, so I told someone else to come in and drop the keys off to my house. That is related to the landlord. So yeah, and that's how it went. And I've got the deal, and I'm going to meet the landlord again today. So I thought it's a real life experience, and that's how I am with all of my landlords. I've got testimonials from landlords that say, "Oh, I've had Faz. All right. Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever been to the property in 5 years. I don't think he's ever had to ring me." And you know what? Well, it's hands off. It's guaranteed rent. Never missed a payment, no voids, right? Uninterrupted income, right? And I've got another property I want to speak to him about, and so I'm going to go and look at that one soon. Yeah, so it's all been, and that's how you build trust, by saying doing what you're saying you're going to do, and sticking by that, so you don't mess anyone around.
Wow. Well done. Thank you for that. I mean, that's a true life experience, that one. Everyone can see exactly how it works now, which is brilliant. And then, like you say, you need to know your numbers. You need to understand how you're going to have that conversation with the landlord, which kind of leads me into a little bit, this one comes up all the time, but Why would a landlord trust me if I don't have a deal yet? Credibility without track record, doing that must be a skill. How did you build that early belief before you had your first success?
All right. Well, so I'm a good person who likes to read stuff. I like to go on to speak to other landlords. I like to speak to other investors that are in this market, in this field, in this industry. I like to watch YouTube videos. So I was one of those that was hungry for knowledge. And so with what I was learning, even though I didn't really know much about what I was saying, my passion, my desire, my vision, it kind of felt like that they've understood that this guy is here for the long term and he's someone that we want to work with. So I kind of throwed myself in the trenches with my passion, with my commitment. So yeah, I just showed them examples of what other people telling me about and what they were doing and how it was going for them. And I said to them, yeah, my colleague's taken this on. This is what he's done. This is how he's done it. Here's some pictures. So it was like, um, even though I was very new myself, I was using a third party approach on other people's experiences to help build my relationship with the landlord. And that showed that I was serious and I was trustworthy, and that gave the landlord confidence to work with me.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I understand that. That's good. I mean, leveraging other people's trust as well is a good way to actually gain trust yourself. And I understand that. That's really good. So, I mean, hindsight's a beautiful thing, of course. And for anyone starting now, I mean, they're wanting to avoid years of mistakes by listening to this. And so if you were starting all over again, what kind of things would you possibly change or do different?
I would get a mentor or a coach much sooner than I did, because I spent months doing it on my own and second guessing. And, I had gone on someone's course, but that's all theory. And unless you're out there doing it, you're not really going to make progress. And the fact that I didn't hire a coach until a bit later, that I felt that I should have done it much, much sooner. I would have accelerated faster. I would have got results faster. Um, I must have lost out on about two or three deals because I didn't have a coach, someone guiding me and telling me what I should and should not be doing and what I should not be saying. Later on, I focused on speed, building the right network, and focusing only on the high value activities that led me to directly to get those deals.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's one of those things that people always say, "Oh, yeah, I can't really afford to get a coach in to begin with." But actually, yeah, a coach has been there, done it, like you. You've been there, done it. You've got the medals, you've got the war wounds. People want to accelerate without making the mistakes, then well, a mentor or a coach is always the right decision to make straight away. Okay, so I mean, some people actually chase the next deal, so they think quite tactically in terms of what's the next deal, what's the next deal. But then others think about the bigger mission. I want a business, the rent-to-rent business, and there's multiple deals, multiple properties. And you've always struck me as someone motivated by purpose, not just profit. So what actually keeps you going?
Oh, wow. Okay. So basically, it's just seeing transformation in my clients, knowing that I'm helping someone quit their 9 to 5 job, so that they can spend more time with their kids or building something that they can be proud of. That really does light me up, to know someone has achieved significant amounts of success. And, there's a chap, one of my first mentees, I mentored him and think it was either 2015 or 16, I'm not sure now, but a while ago. So his dream or his goal, his name is Steve, he wanted to live out in Dubai. And he just had got married recently, and he was looking to build a family. He had his own business. In fact, it was an interior design business. But he wanted to spend more time with family and create passive income to go on to do maybe HMO conversions and developments later on. And then that's exactly what he ended up doing. And I think he ended up making tens of thousands of pounds per month through my help with property. And yeah, he's forever grateful because, in fact, there's a testimonial with me and him on YouTube, gives a bit more information about how that experience went, working with me and, him using me as his mentor and coach. The idea of continuous improvement in people's lives, and I want to build something even bigger. I want to leave a legacy as, with many people as possible, if I can, so that they can remember me to say that one day I met this chap called Faz, and if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have achieved the results I've got today.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, what a great passion to have. Really commend that, Faz. Helping and leaving a legacy as well, because obviously you've got your son as well who's coming into the business and doing the same. So yeah, I can imagine that feels really warming. For those who are looking to get into rent to rent, what does a typical day in the life of Faz look like nowadays?
Oh, right. Oh, okay. So I've gone into sort of land and developments, which is my passion and vision, which is the big picture. And and I've just launched that company, literally just this month. So I'm just in the process of laying the foundations of that, you know. I'm speaking to, I've got three investors booked in for meetings with them next week to discuss how we're going to move forward with regards how the structure of that arrangement would look like, you know. But typically, so for me, I started networking as well this month. So typically, I'm going to one or two networking events every single week, and my aim is to just to meet five different people at each event. And if I can meet 5 to 10 people a week, and over the month, that's it could be 40 or 50 people. And my aim is just to build a relationship with them. I do run the Croydon Property Chats as well. Um, on the first Thursday of every month, I'm the host of that event, and we have a good crowd, and 15 or 20 people, sometimes more, are there just to network. There's no speakers, there's no one speaking over you. It's just come connect and meet other people. So what I'm doing right now is I'm helping people get their first deal within 30 days. So I'm really passionate about that because I believe I can, and I am. And I run um, this, for 30 days, but it is for a lifetime because if they don't end up getting their first deal in 30 days, then I work with people for free. Yes, for free until they do get their first deal. So I'm networking, mentoring other people right now, and I'm also meeting with investors with regards to my new venture, which I'm doing. I'm also working with my team, that helping me to grow and develop my rent-to-rent business, which is systemized now and it runs itself.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that, Faz. Another question that, that people do want to understand is, when with rent to rent, does it come with a risk? And if it does come with a risk, how do you actually manage risk with rent to rent?
Oh, right. Okay. So that's all about due diligence. It's a very, very big word in property. You know, you got to know the area. And it's all about supply and demand, right? Is there enough clients or tenants that is your target market for that particular property? And, what is the demand? What is the amount of people looking for your accommodation or what your rooms in that particular area? Or what does the condition of the property look like? Yeah, I think due diligence is a big word, but yeah, you've got to know how to work out the numbers correctly. So managing the cash flow tightly and never ever overextending yourself. So when you go in to do the due diligence, I do it based on average room rate in that particular area, and I will look and work out whether I've got 5 rooms or 6 rooms in the property, and I'll take off the bills. I usually use, as a rule of thumb, about £100 per room as a starting point for bills, because I know that's probably where we're going to be realistically once we've got all the suppliers signed up. So you take off that off the bills, we'll take off the rent that we're going to be giving the landlord, and then that's what your profit is. It could be anywhere between um, 800 to £1,000 to £1,200 to £1,500. Yeah, so anywhere between 800 to £1,500 is possible on one deal if you structure it correctly. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that,
So
is that monthly?
that's monthly. Yeah, that is monthly. Yeah.
And do you help your clients, your students, do you help them with contracts?
Oh yes, I do. Yeah, so I'll help them to use the correct contracts, and I will help them to structure the contracts to suit them, and also the landlords, the questions that they have. Usually, I'll help them to overcome, yeah, those questions really within the contract, so that you could make it win, and everyone wins.
Wonderful.
Watch out for part 2. Subscribe so you don't miss it.